Hello everybody, John here, and today on To The Garage I'm revealing the secret of one of my components in my cupboard, and the reason is I'm going to fit it. So, quick rummage, should have got that beforehand really. This, let's see if it's focused, I think it is, was the subject of a little impromptu quiz on one of the previous videos, and I did promise a little prize to whoever could be the first to correctly identify it. I'm conflicted. Two people gave the right answer first, neither was absolutely complete, so I'm going to give you both a little prize. So Gary J correctly identified this as the little rubber doofer that supports the Airbox in the XK8, and Ray Stocker identified it by its correct name, which was also part of the question, which is an Instrumount. Trade name, I'm guessing, but that is literally what these things are called. I'd like an Instrumount for an XK8, please. So if you two gentlemen would find a way of providing me with a postal address, I'll send you a tiny little something to say thank you for being asked to reply to my impromptu quiz. You can obviously give that for a comment, or if you'd rather do that privately, then the email address is john@tothegarage.co.uk. all one word, To The Garage, obviously. So onwards and upwards. Why have I got that and what am I doing with it? Okay, here's the engine bay of our XK8 Purdy. This is the airbox, and down there you can see the Instrumount. And if I move my hand out my own light, what you might be able to see, let's give you the torch as well, is it's shot to pieces. It literally is not far off from being in pieces, and just about clinging to life. There we go. And that causes the airbox to move around more than it should, chatter on bodywork, move around, twitch, can damage this, which we talked about in a previous video, can damage this, and generally not good. So today I'm going to switch the Instrumount, and while I'm at it, remove the airbox fully and have a clean and a mooch in this corner of the engine bay. So step one, let's get prepared. First and most important thing, don't damage Purdy. So let's put our wing protectors on, so that when I'm leaning over the car, I don't damage anything. Next, I've just literally bumped my head on the bonnet. We're going to put the bonnet into its service position. If you haven't seen this before, then there is a video. It's on one of the secrets videos. Can't remember the number. I'll try and flash it up on the screen now if I remember when I'm editing to show you how to do that. But basically, you pull the clips on the gas struts at the top. You can then drop your gas strut down. The gas struts are not really strong enough to hold things on their own, so you might have to do a little clever walk where you walk around the bonnet, grabbing the other side just to make sure it doesn't drop. And if you're clever, yes I am, I'll put my screwdriver in my pocket and just pop that one off as well. There he goes. And with both struts removed, the bonnet lifts all the way to vertical. Now, because there's nothing holding it up bar the mechanism, which has got a little bit of a detent on it, not a lot, get yourself 2 8mm bolts with wing nuts and there are two holes in the hinges for this very purpose that you should clamp up in order that there's no way this comes down. You must remember to remove the nuts, the bolts, before you try and close the bonnet, for obvious, I hope, reasons. And now access has gone from so-so to actually pretty good. Okay, and this is an 8mm bolt. So just take your 8mm bolt out. Said get myself prepared, and I wasn't. Magnetic tray. And the second of those bolts is at the back. There we go. Hardest bit of that job is just not dropping the bolt. Okay, there are several ways to go about this. You could take the lid off the air filter, but to do that you need to undo the clip that holds the trunk onto the air filter box. I'm going to take the entire air filter box out because I need to get at this anyway, and it's probably the quicker, easier way of removing this. See what you think when I've done. I'll be interested in your comments. So mission one is release this, and remember, if you see my previous video, this is a delicate item, so be careful. This is the high volume breathe pipe, brand new on mine, so not going to be a problem. Let's move that down a little bit further. So that is now released from there. At the back of the mass airflow sensor there's an electrical connector, and you just squeeze the clips on it and pull it towards the cam cover. And there he is, he's off. Next, we've got two bolts holding the top of the snorkel onto the air intake. So I'm just going to go and fetch spanners. Okay, and this is an 8mm bolt. So just take your 8mm bolt out. Said get myself prepared, and I wasn't. Magnetic tray. And the second of those bolts is at the back. There we go. Hardest bit of that job is just not dropping the bolt. So the only thing remaining that's holding this down is the Instrumount. So that's going to be a 10mm bolt. Just move my other spanner. Don't like leaving them there in case I forget. Down. There we go. And theoretically, all of that is now removed. So see what I mean about it being the easier way of doing things. The snorkel has a rubber gasket, so it might stick. That's very easily pulled off. So I'll have a look at that in a mo. The airbox, other than this Instrumount, is pushed into two rubber grommets. So it should just be a firm tug and off she comes. 1, 2. Ooh, popped itself back on, I think. And the airbox has got a feed pipe that goes through a hole in the wing. So you just need to maneuver it to pull that through. It's not very long. Ooh. Having said that, this is much longer than on my previous car, which is interesting. There we go. Should have pulled it off that end in the first place. Before we do anything, I heard something drop as I pulled the airbox off. That is the half of my Instrumount, and fortunately there it is. So this is what you call a timely improvement. That's been gone for some while. You can see how polished the bottom of the rubber is. But yes, if you're trying to remove your airbox, turning it around a little bit for a better view, those two rubber grommets are really what's doing the holding it, other than the mount I've just taken off. And a snorkel that goes through the wing on my previous car was much shorter, which is interesting. So I'm just going to winkle that out. There you go. That's the actual air intake of your XK8. So that's the induction tract. This half of the Instrumount has a hexagonal base, which I should be able to put a spanner on, and it's got a captive nut in the bodywork. There we are, guys. It is a 20mm. Washer. So that's the bottom of my Instrumount. That's the 21. So let's have a look. As you can see, with the airbox out, access is actually pretty decent. Camera adjusts the light a little bit. You can get all the way down the side of the engine. You can see the engine mounts. You can see the alternator. There's a little bit of corrosion on that bracket. Just wondering, is anything else attached to that? I think the answer is no, so he might be coming out in a minute. And we've got this rather unusual position of wire that loops over the top of the Instrumount. If we come down there, oops, linked lead ABS front. So that is where your anti-lock braking system is connected to your front brakes. Usefully labelled. If you look forward with that off, we've got, you can peer in to the area where the airbox sucks its air. But you have got this panel, which is a little guard to protect the back of the lights, and you can easily remove that. And with that off, you can see the back of your light. There you go. It's basically 1/4 of the engine bay, but it's normally very covered up. It's now pretty good access. Right, we're going to examine these bits of the induction system, give them a clean up, ready for reinstallation or any little repairs we want. polypropylene, and the dial for indicating when this tool was dressed. And you can guarantee this is the first ever dressing of this tool, or built in fact, is 96 and 5. January, February, March, April, May 96. So again, really early, well pre-production plastics, or at least built prior to production. I'm not saying they're any different, it just interests me. Right, it's a tiny thing, but it'd irritate me if I put it back. The internals of this system are actually pretty decent, it's got to be said, other than the fact we've got the bellows in the main drawer. But it's got a really bad entrance with sharp edges, flash, etc. So I'm going to dress that just so that there's a nice airflow in to my induction system. I don't know how well this will show up, but we've now got a reasonably nice transition. Okay, item 1 done. Next, let's take this little pipe off before I break my new one. Next, put a screwdriver on there, slacken it off, and that should separate. There he goes. Take the clip off and put the airbox to one side. So, this is our Induction Snorkel, and the thing with these is, over time they rub on the bonnet of your car, not the bonnet, the insulation on the inside of the bonnet of your car. You can wear a hole through the tops of these, and because of the twitching, because your Instrumount is bust, like mine, you can get air leaks because they fracture. So the thing to do with this is check it carefully with a torch, clean it up properly. If there are any holes in here, you're going to have to repair that. And this is an example where self-amalgamating tape stretched really tight into the grooves will give you a decent temporary fix. But you've either got a plastic weld this or get yourself a new one. I think this is going to be in good nick. My car hasn't done many miles, so I'm just going to examine it and clean it up. You're going to see a decent amount of oil slick on the inside. That is because the breather pipe has been doing its job and letting the oily fumes from your engine bay be drawn into the engine to be reburnt. So don't let that worry you. That is quite normal. Okay, another piece sorted out. Next, we've got our airbox, hopefully with a filter in. Well, I know it's got a filter in. 3 clips. This is obviously a lot easier when it's out. These 3 are always easy anyway. And 2 clips, one of which is hard with the trunk on. Whoops. And one is just hard. You've got to jam your hand down here. But with the airbox off, obviously very, very easy. I've got Mitch Grooms to thank for the suggestion of taking the airbox off to change the air filter. And it's something I'd ever considered, and it's the way to do it for sure. Mitch has got a great channel on YouTube as well. Check out Mitch Grooms. He's got a 308 XKR, which is in beautiful condition, really looks after rather well. And if you like XK8s, you'll like XKRs, and you like 308s because it's the same car, but the four-door saloon, basically. So your airbox contains little baffles, if you like, strengthening ribs in the bottom, but they're also to grab a hold of all the dirt and rubbish that's been eliminated from the system. So give that a good shake out, give it a clean out. There should be a hole in the bottom, which I don't know if you can see or not. It says manoeuvring. Yes, you can. There it is. And that should be open. Don't panic. That's just to drain any water out that gets sucked in from in the wing. It's got somewhere to escape. So other than losing a few clips, there's not really a lot to go wrong with this, except that hole blocking in the bottom, and potentially you collect water, which might eventually get drawn in to the engine. So just a very occasional check over sorts that. Cool. Car had a service just before I bought it, so as I expected, other than my greasy fingerprint, that is clean and genuine. And this unit is your mass airflow sensor. I have no need to take this out really, but I'll take it out just so that you guys can see how that works. It's very easy. So you've got two 8mm bolts, I should say, on one side of the airbox. And one on the other side. When you've removed all of those, should pull straight out. However, interesting, there's a little peg in the fourth hole which is not used, which I know I didn't have on my previous car. So I think by the looks of it, there's something I was missing. Don't think that will be something that somebody's added. What am I looking for? Fork trim removal tool. Don't think that's something somebody's added. Okay, I'm completely unaware of this component. That doesn't mean that it's not real. Not real? But it shouldn't be there. So is that in your mass airflow sensor? I don't have one of them in the previous car. Basically, this is part of a pokey-okey device, something that stops you putting it back the wrong way, because it's only got one bolt this side and two the other, means you can't flip it round. So, mass airflow sensor, air rushes at this cone. The vast majority goes either side and goes straight to your engine. Some goes inside this vent here, and there's a warm wire at the bottom of that, and that warm wire has a resistance, and as the air rushes in, the faster it rushes in, the more it chills the wire and changes its resistance, so that the system can work out how fast the air is flowing. And there is also a temperature probe in there as well. Between those two things, it can work out how much air you're pulling in. just going to go out to the daylight to have a look at my wire. And the good news is it looks pretty clean, but I do have a spare one of these on the shelf at all times because it's an easy swap out. You can clean them up with specialist MAF cleaner sensor cleaner by getting a nozzle down there, getting close but not touching the wire, sprayed off. To be honest, anything really pure is fine to try and clean these off with, but touching them you're probably going to break the wire. Don't use WD-40 because you'll leave residue on the wire. It warms up, it then going to turn into putty and around the wire and insulate it, and you're buggered. So use the right cleaner and you can clean them up, and I want to wash, want to wear. Okay, so that's completed the clean out stage. It's all looking a little bit tidier. Time to start rebuilding the whole thing. So we've screwed in the new Instrumount. Doesn't matter which way up that goes, both got the same thread. I've put in the bracket that has been zinc sprayed and then sprayed satin black. The rubbers, the grommets, I've soaked in a little bit of rubber conditioner and the Instrumount. Nothing clever, just this stuff, Auto Glim. Again, not saying it's the best, just saying it's what I'm using in case you were going to know. And the next thing is to actually install the induction system. So I'm going to go and fetch that off the bench. So it's all back together. I've loosely fitted that clip. The air filter's in the box and I have the intake trumpet here. Now from learning, this is going to go into the wheel arch and then I'm going to clip it back into the car. Into the airbox rather than try and do it the other way around. So let's pop that through the wheel arch. Easy peasy. Now, gently position this. Get into rough position. then what I'm going to do is put the intake trumpet into the airbox. It snaps into position very easily. As soon as you line it up, it does. There we go. And now I'm just filling underneath to line up the pegs with the grommets. You only need to find one because I've got it on here. Should be in the right place. There it goes. On in one go. Just going to push this further home now. The intake trumpet, that's fully engaged. And that looks good. And the wire is no longer trapped. Everything's got room to twitch. So that's all looking good. And so I left this joint loose so that I could angle it after. So I'm just going to go over to the top end and position that where it's got to go onto the intake, which has gone on nicely. And then again, just seat everything. Lovely. So now I can rotate that clip to a good position for tightening. About there. There we go. Nice snug. And all that leaves is a breather pipe, that, and our mass airflow sensor wire, which I tucked down here a little bit too effectively. There he is. So he goes on a mass airflow sensor like so until he clicks, and this should just slide on. There he goes to there and to there. Excellent. And everything under the bonnet of an XK8 is a snug fit. There's a lot of engine in a very low bonnet. Things do touch the insulation on the underside of the bonnet, so it's worth taking a few minutes just to check out how everything's sitting before you tighten things back up. So 8mm in there. One. And the other side again for the other. So there's only one thing left in the magnetic bowl now, and that is a nut and a washer for the Instrumount. The washer is actually quite important. You don't want to be transmitting much in the way of torque to the Instrumount. That's one of the ways they get destroyed. You tighten them up and you twist the actual rubber. So best way of doing it is to put a spanner on underneath. Remember, it's hexagon top and bottom in terms of a shape. Might have to just move the wire for the ABS again. And we're tightened up. So there you go. How, in my normal slowly fashion, I've turned changing a very small 2-bolt component into an afternoon of fun in the garage. Because I don't like doing things quick and easy, I like doing them slow and steady. Okay, so we should be all back in place. Again, just check this doesn't knock on anything. If you've got it all lined up correctly, it should be okay. Remember, in my case, to refit your ABS, which I nearly forgot. All done. And then just 2 tasks for me. And the important one, really important one, remember to take out the bolts. So, empty dish, always a good sign. Remove my clue. Remove the bonnet bolt on one side. I keep these in the glove box of the car because you never know when you might want them at the side of the road. Then other side, rest my head against the bonnet just in case the wind catches it. First bonnet stay. Remember that the bonnet will try and close with just one bonnet stay on, and remind yourself just how low it is in its standard position. Then make sure you push your clip fully home so that these don't jump off under the bonnet. Hold on to the bonnet while you walk around, grab the other side, and install the other. One quick last check where I haven't left any tools. I'm a bugger for sticking things in this gutter, so quick look down there. And it's time to start it up and just make sure that I've done everything properly. Sweet as a nut. Back into the clean drawer. With that complete, there's only one thing remaining to do, and that is to take this Instrumount, well done Ray, and put it in the little box of horrors. Don't look too carefully, I can't even focus properly on it. And I'm going to put this on top because that's going to get fixed. So there you go guys. If you've enjoyed this episode of To The Garage, then please come again. Subscribe, comment, give us a good thumbs up. Share with your friends, that's the most important thing at the moment. We try to build community so that there's no question we can't answer. And whether your bias is Jaguars, which is my main one, but also Jeeps, like Jeeps and Volkswagens, T4s, T25s. I run my Navara as a daily driver, and I have more toys where I know what to do with. I love tools, tinkering and creating weird and wonderful inventions. So if you like playing around in your garage, come join us. We'll be doing all sorts of good things. More on the badge saga to come, and more experiments to do for those who are following that little trail. But thank you very much for all your support, and see you soon.